So we are live, and I'm speaking to Namibian wildlife rancher. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, fine, thanks yourself.
Yeah, good. So, for all intents and purposes, I mentioned that I don't want to name you, and I also, I want to speak about the experience you have working with the rhino species. So, please go ahead and tell me, about these incredible animals.
Yeah, well, we breeding with them, and we're trying to breed them back from extinction because of the huge poaching onslaught on them. There's talks now in the media that the poaching decreased in South Africa, which is totally not true. It's just that the APU efforts and the ways that the poaching is fought now is much better and much more effective over the last 2 years. But the amount of onslaught and incidents actually increased. So it's not the poaching that decreased at all.
Yes, and being in Namibia, tell me about the Namibian law. I mean, what is being done to protect the rhinos in Namibia? Are the punishments, are they harsh enough? What's being done to help wildlife ranchers and farmers protect their animals?
They're not harsh enough at all, but our Minister, Ruamba Shifeta, Minister of Environment and Tourism, he's working on that, and they promised that they're definitely going to make the sentences much harsher, and we are hoping for that. We had a lot of successes just last week. There were approximately 7 poachers caught with horns, with rifles, with everything. So it was really successful, and we just hope that the sentences will be just as harsh.
Yes. Yes, I sent you some information yesterday, and it was with regards to a woman called Jamie Joseph, and she's a massive activist. Do you think that more people like her are required to step out and challenge the poaching industry, the kingpins, and the government at the same time?
Yes, I think the more people are out there that will tell people about the plight of the rhino, the better. And we just also hope that they carry out the correct message. Yeah, but it's very important.
Yes, it is. So I had, I don't know if it's luck or if it's great fortune. So I had the opportunity to work with you and be introduced to these incredible animals, and I've never been that close to a rhino. So I was like a little child. There's obviously a lot of cost involved taking care of these animals. Do you want to speak a little bit about that, about what it takes to take care of one rhino?
Yes, there's huge costs involved, and unfortunately, especially because of the poaching, because otherwise it would have been, if it was like a normal, like let's say you're breeding with buffalo, you basically it's about feeding them enough and having just all the circumstances correct for them. But now with the anti-poaching efforts, you're talking about for us alone, just our anti-poaching team salaries is about $100,000 Namibian a month. So that makes a huge difference, and that is unfortunately why so many people in South Africa they sold all their rhinos, because it just became too expensive to breed with them, and because of that, there's like a habitat loss because there's some farms that just don't want to have rhinos anymore.
Yes. And these animals are incredibly fragile. I mean, they're massive, and they can storm you into the ground, but they are incredibly fragile and very, very, it's not like, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I have no experience with it, but I mean, from listening to people, there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and a lot of effort for especially baby rhinos to survive in the wild. Do you think that more people need to support anti-poaching units? Do you think that it should be a nation thing and not just an individual, like a certain animal organization, or like you now, being a wildlife rancher? Do you think that a nation needs to come on board and contribute to the survival of species and the conservation?
You know, my opinion is that there's a lot more and better ways to make the rhino farming and breeding sustainable, by tourism, by the legalization of rhino horn, and there's a lot of other ways which we can also, the communities, we can give rhinos to some of the communities who will look after them. But obviously, then there must be an incentive in there for them. They must be able to make money out of that. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, but the legal rhino horn trade. I mean, it is like a lot of, there's so many people that's against it, but they don't even know that the rhino horn grows back. So it's sustainable. It's like shearing the sheep of the wool from sheep, and like the pacuna, where they also shear the wool. It's a wild animal, and they shear the wool, and the pacuna was also saved from extinction because of the sustainable use of that, and then the rhino can basically pay for itself. If the rhino farmers can at least sell that, they can make money to make their anti-poaching efforts better, and to better protect them and feed them, and etc.
Yes, I do want to talk about that. I really, really do want to talk about that, because that's quite a sensitive subject for most people. And, you know, like reading from all the comments and going online and looking at all the videos and the TED Talks and reading the documents and different points of views, there's a lot of anger around this, a lot of viewpoints around this, a lot of people that don't know, like you said, and people that do know. You know, looking at animals as a commodity, I think that's also where people are coming in. Like, we don't want to look at a rhino as a commodity. We don't want to put it onto the exchange or like onto the traders list. And also looking at what's happened with lions. You know, it was okay to trade lion bones, and then it became a complete mess. And now there's 10,000 lions, and they're not necessarily healthy. You know, they've been inbred, so it's not even a good industry. And looking at the Asian market, even though, you know, lions have been kept in captivity and bred in captivity to support this industry, they still want the wild animal. So, you know, I think a lot of people are concerned that even if the legalization of the rhino horn goes through, that they will still continue poaching the wild animals, because they seem to place more value on the wild.
Yes, that's the thing. There's so many people that's misinformed. Currently in Windhoek, I've been there yesterday. There's the 9th wildlife ranching symposium, which is an international symposium. There's people from I think there's 15 different countries represented there. And they spoke a lot about this, and the thing is, what I said, there's so many people that's misinformed. Like our operation, they think that you're talking about breeding rhinos in basically like a paddock or something like that. I mean, our like camps. Yes, go ahead.
You know, like you would like cattle, or I mean, what do they think, you know?
Yes, completely yeah, and almost like a feeding lot, and that's not at all the case. I mean, they each camp is on our property is 1,600 hectares each camp, and in a camp like that, there's only about 22 to 25 animals in. So it's a huge. That is like a farm on its own, and so they still live like normal wild rhinos, but you can monitor them, and you can de-horn them each year or every 18 months, and it regrows. It doesn't have any negative effect on them, and also there's DNA today. I mean, so they say, how will you see that the smuggled rhino horns doesn't get into the legalized system? But that's why there's DNA. So each of our rhinos is on a RODIS, which is was started by Cindy Harper. It's a system where they want to put all rhino in Southern Africa on this rhodus system, so that there's DNA of each and every rhino. And it's so it's if you are actually able to do that and then make sure that it's not bloodworms that enters the legal trade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's also what Jamie Joseph is doing. She's taking on the blood rhino. I think there's a hashtag that she's working with, something like blood rhino, to prevent, these things happening. Would you like to see the Namibian people support you in your efforts to support the species and have it expand and not, become extinct? Would you like to see more Namibian people become involved?
Yes, we would love them. We have an organization called Warn.nam. It's stands for our rhinos now in Namibia. It's basically all the private rhino owners and also the custodians, people that's looking after black rhino for the government, belong to this organization, and it will be great if we can get it into the media more effectively.
Yes. Yes. For me, it's so crazy. Like, you'll look at YouTube and Facebook and you'll see like the followers, but for ridiculous things, and they'll have like millions of followers. But then you look at like wildlife organizations and people really doing amazing work and really working to save and protect lives, and they have about 10,000 people following them and 10,000 people supporting them. And I think that's totally crazy. I think there's such a huge disconnect. Yeah. So let's talk about the Asian market, because people are being very careful in saying, like, let's respect tradition and let's work with the Asian market and the Asian demand. But when does tradition actually become a complete taboo and we say, well, now we've had enough and let's end this? Because you can only respect tradition that far, but when an entire species turns to extinction, then you kind of like I feel, for me, it's very difficult to do that thing.
That is why we're saying that the whole message that gets sent out is totally wrong. They keep on talking about the huge price of rhino horn in the media. They telling you that the rhino is going to go extinct. So what that basically is sending out that those people, because like you say, remember, it's like for 2,000 years that the Chinese people's been using it, and it's not for aphrodisiac as most Westerners believe it. They used it for headache, for all sort of normal ailments, and they've been believing in that for 2,000 years. Now, do you now really think they're gonna listen now to a Westerner telling them, no, you must change your belief? I mean, that's not going to happen. By educating, it will probably and hopefully happen over the long term, but definitely not in the time that we have to save the rhino. And now they've been sending out these wrong messages that it's going to go extinct, the price is this high. So it's basically encouraging people to send poachers out while you can still get this commodity. Go out, go kill it, and you can make this huge profit while you can still get out of it.
So I haven't met an African or a Namibian or a South African or somebody from Botswana or Zimbabwe or anywhere in the neighboring countries who uses the horn as a remedy to solve a certain ailment or to cure something. Why is it that it's always the Asian demand? Why is there always an Asian demand coming into other countries, poaching and killing our wild animals? And why? So is there anything that you would like to say to the end consumer?
Well, it's definitely doesn't have any medicinal properties. It's like eating your own hair or your own fingernails. So if I would say ugly things if I have to talk to the end consumer, unfortunately. But yes, it's totally ridiculous that they believe in that. But we are just saying it's going to be really difficult in a short span of time to educate them. Hopefully, in the long term, we will be able to teach them that it's not working.
So you have quite a positive outlook on the Namibian government and their efforts to protect the rhino. Do you feel that there is an amount of corruption the same as in South Africa that Jamie Joseph is tackling at the moment? Do you think that that's also happening in Namibia? Would you want to say? Would you even want to say?
There's always the corruption problem will always be there. So I cannot say that it isn't here by us. It definitely is. In some instances, with poaching incidents, we really believe that there is corruption involved. But I must really compliment our government. We had a poaching incident about 10 days ago at a ranch in Namibia, and it was like overnight there were probably 14 to 20 different police units that came out, and those guys were caught like a day and a half later. They were all
amazing.
So
amazing.
Really have
yeah, amazing. Yes, yeah. So to people who have money and you don't know what to do with your money, support the anti-poaching units. They not only save animal lives, but they also save human lives. I've heard that in Namibia there was an incident where a little girl was found in the back of a anti-poaching, or in the back of a truck being trafficked with some animal parts as well. So when you do support wildlife organizations, make sure it's an ethical one. Correct? Yes?
Yes.
And also, take money out. Don't go and support when you do. I mean, that's also what I've seen, and we've spoken about this. I'm going to mention this is I see people spend thousands over weekends on alcohol and partying and doing all sorts of things. But then when it comes to really becoming aware of the wildlife and why you live in the country, because let's face it, Namibia is beautiful. We're proud of the country. It's clean. It's gorgeous. Like people from all over the world visit to see the wildlife, to experience nature. And yet the local people don't invest enough money, time, effort, awareness into the wildlife. So maybe instead of spending, I'm not going to call names, but spending $1,000 over a weekend, maybe find out who's actually protecting the wildlife and go and spend your money in a better way. Anything else?
Yes, I just want to warn the people. There is, like you said, there's like 300 or 500 or something like that NGOs that's claiming to help rhinos, and a lot of that money doesn't go to the cause of what they're saying it's going to. So be very careful where you donate, and investigate the people first before you just give money.
So name a few. I'm very happy you mentioned that, because I actually wanted to bring that up. So could you name a few that people could go and invest in and actually contribute some money to?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Could you name a few organizations, including yourself? Could you name a few organizations if people are looking to contribute money?
Yes, well, I don't know a lot of the international ones, and even South Africa, I'm not really on. I'm not even on Facebook, but ours is WARN, www.warn.nam, and then Save the Rhino Trust Namibia is also a well-known one, which the money will definitely go to the cause. But yeah, that's basically the only two that I know in Namibia.
Good. So legalization of the rhino horn trade. So I'm not pro it, and I'm also not against it, but I am pro saving lives and protecting our species. And I wish you good luck. And if this works, good for you, so that you can take care of your animals. And I hope to be speaking to you real soon again. Also, the CITES meeting is coming up, and I believe that you are anxious about that, to see what they will decide about the rhino horn trade.
Yes, unfortunately, Namibia and South Africa didn't apply to CITES for the legalization of the rhino horn trade. They believe that they didn't get their paperwork was well enough prepared. So we
I'm sorry that I'm laughing. It's like, yeah.
I hope by the next CITES meeting in 3 years they will. But Swaziland is applying, and they apparently have a very well uh, the application, or I don't know what the correct word for that is, were done very well, and we are hoping that maybe they are able to get it right.
Oh, this is such a difficult situation and such a sensitive subject. Oh goodness, it's like an ivory trade, isn't it? Like they don't want to trade, and then they trade, and then when they do sell, it's for a ridiculous low amount. To support organizations which never receive any.
And that is why I say that people are just not informed well enough, because it's not like the ivory trade at all. You cannot harvest an elephant's tusks and it grows back. You cannot do that. So with an elephant, you can cut it off, and then it's not going to grow back. And the elephant uses its tusk to feed. It uses the tusk to take off bark from trees, and they use it. A rhino doesn't use his horn for any feeding purpose, and it grows back. So you don't need to kill one single rhino to be able to supply the demand for the rhino. It's actually very simple.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much we don't know. So please educate yourself from one Namibian to another Namibian. Thank you so much for all your effort that you're doing to help the species and to protect it and to make sure that it doesn't go extinct. And to all the other wildlife ranchers and farmers, a lot of respect for you. I really hope that tides turn and that you will get the support and the funding to take your projects further. Don't go away. I want to talk to you. So I'm going to stop the broadcast. So from Earth Alive 365, let's celebrate all life. Let's support our wildlife ranchers and farmers, and let's look after our animals. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. And thank for your work. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.